Alright, hey guys, this is Scourrge, doing another video. I've been playing a fair bit on Bovada lately, not really getting in as much volume as I would like, but certainly more than I have been earlier in the summer. So moving up a little bit here, I've got 3 tables of 10 and out going in spots top left, bottom right, and then in the top right, 1 table of 25 no limit. Again, if you haven't seen any of my other videos, Bovada has a 4 table limit, so basically using pretty aggressive bankroll management, trying to maximize how fast I can move up without going too crazy with how aggro I use, because I don't really want to be 4 tabling 25 and L with, like 13 buy-ins or whatever. I have something like that right now. So basically, this is setting a stop loss. There's no automatic top up with Bovada software, and so if I were to lose a sizable pot here, I'll probably just close it down rather than rebuying. That kind of sets an automatic stop loss of 1 buy-in for me. 10 and L, I mean, I've got 30 buy-ins right now, so I'll be rebuying when I lose, which undoubtedly will happen on at least one of these tables, minimum. Not too much going on so far. I just fired the session up, but I played a little bit of a session earlier. Here we actually isolate King 9 suited, catch this flop. We're 4-way, so I don't really want to c-bet this board. It's, we've got a gut shot and an over, but it's wet enough. I don't think we're getting too many folds. We hit our gut shot, flush draw comes in, but we're not really too concerned about that. There should be a fair bit of value in betting to get high club cards or high club with a pair to call us. So I'm going to bet fairly large here, roughly 3/4 pot. But when it checks around on the flop and the turn, I expect to take it down a ton. I am actually listening to music right now, which I don't normally do when I make videos, but figured I'd give it a try, see if I mellow out a little bit. Not that I'm too crazy, but I definitely do a little better grinding in general when I have music playing. We catch basically our dream board here. I check it sometimes, but more often I'm gonna bet it, just because if we get into some kind of cooler situation, pretty much the only way we're getting stacks in is if we're betting every street and a raise comes somewhere along the line. So, and there's our money card, because he looks pretty reluctant to go on the flop, but it's gonna be pretty tough for him to put us on a flush. So if he's got anything pretty decent like 2 pair, I think he's calling at least 1 more street. Not quite that big though. I'm gonna go around 2/3, a little bit bigger. And this is wow. See, I would shove here, but like I just don't see us ever. Actually, you know what? A scare card can come, another heart can come, so I just want to get it in. But unfortunately, some people will actually min raise and then fold this, getting like 3-1 or whatever it is he's getting. That's really interesting. So it's a good thing we shoved, I guess, because he might actually get away from his hand there on that river. Kind of surprised that he took that line. Most people on Bovada aren't taking aggressive enough lines, let alone overly aggressive lines. But occasionally you do see it, I guess. I'm not sure if he thought that was for value or not, but he probably doesn't know the difference between a value bet and a bluff. So here we have 2 overs and a gut shot, and we have some barrelable turn cards. So even though it's 3-way, I kind of like betting here. Kind of on the smaller side, just to keep it cheap for us. But if we get 2 calls, I'm almost never barreling unless I make my hand. Probably. If an ace comes, I might bet it. A non-heart ace, I would probably bet it. And wow, we just bank. So that makes life pretty easy. It's not a heart, so you don't really need to worry about bet folding. We're just betting, hoping to get it in, obviously. He snap calls, so I'm thinking he's probably got something like a 10 in his hand. Maybe he had, I don't know, like a king 10 or an ace 10. That's definitely not raising, but I'm just really going for pure value here. Obviously we have the nuts, trying to get the biggest size. I think he might call. I don't think he really has anything that wants to shove here, so I'm really just trying to get the biggest size I can get away with. I could maybe go a little bit bigger than this, but I just feel like with his stack size he gets a little bit scared off by maybe $3 or more. That's not to say he never calls, but I think probably 270 or 280 is close to optimal betting. Also, I kind of forgot that the headphones that I use have a built-in microphone, so I'm using that. I think it's for the first time. I don't think I was using it the last time. I would sometimes isolate this. I wasn't really paying enough attention. I don't think I see much value in leading out here because limping ranges here are just going to do pretty well on this board. I don't think we really want to be putting tons of money in, even though we have an open-ender and a backdoor flush draw. He snap checks behind, so I think I just want to bet he can actually call with worse, like ace high here, and just not believe us with some stuff. I don't think I really want to fight for this pot out of position, and even if we catch like a 7 here, weird stuff can happen. I'm never like super comfortable with the bottom end of a straight, especially with only using 1 card in my hand. Oops, nearly missed that. And as a general rule, I'm probably going to be rebuying whenever I get below $9. This is a little bit wide to ISO. I would consider doing it, except that this guy is in the blinds very short stacked, and then he's not even a full stack. I've been ISOing a lot wider than I have been in the past, mostly because at 10 NL and even more so at 25 NL, people are folding a little bit more. It just makes it a lot, I guess, more favorable to isolate with garbage and expect to be able to take it away later. It's just tricky because obviously without a HUD, it can be a challenge to figure out who's going to be folding and who's not. On this board, it's draw heavy enough that I just think I can go for a bet for value. Expect to get called by probably 6x. Flush draws, obviously. Obviously, queen's never folding, but I don't have to worry too much about really strong queens here. Although it's so passive, they could probably flat ace queen. He could probably flat ace queen. I don't think the guy with $2 is flatting ace queen pre-flop, but who knows? Nothing happening. I've also been thinking about opening up my ranges a little bit more. I've been very, very tight under the gun. Um, I just feel like people, especially with aces, like it's one thing to open like queen jack suited under the gun, like that seems fine to me, but I've been very wary of opening not big aces, so smaller aces under the gun, just because people are flatting with aces so often. He's losing out into us, which I've seen with any number of things on Bovada, from air to like, the nuts. I'm not too worried here just because I'm in position. His sizing is giving me a decent price, and I think you can do it with, aces that are actually worse than that. So when he sizes like this, I actually think we're probably ahead most of the time. I'm going to check this here just because it's so dry, and I feel like if I'm betting two streets, I'm only getting called by better hands. Probably. Not guaranteed, but probably. I'm betting this, though, because now people can justify calling with just a king, a flush draw, etc. I think I'm just going to call here, though. I don't really want to create a huge pot here. I think I just want to get into a call down line. This looks like two pair a lot to me, where he's trying to get called, but it can also just be like king queen, where he's trying to get some weird thin value. Yeah, so it was a weaker ace. A lot of times players will make these tiny bets with these like kind of frankly medium strength hands that they're trying to get value from, or at least I think they think they're trying to get value from. On this river, I think I'm going to go for a bet fold. Actually, there's two players. I think I just want to check. I'm not convinced I can bet this for value, and I think it gets a little tricky because I have to basically bet this player's stack exactly, where against this player I'd maybe prefer to bet smaller. Actually, bet might be better just because I don't have to decide whether to check call with someone behind me. Let's see. I raised pre-flop, he called. Check flop, bet turn, he shoves river. Obviously I'm betting this for value. I'm going to bet kind of big just because I think he has a 10 here sometimes. He's not folding a king either. Oh, well, that was a really good card for us. Interesting. Well, that's interesting. I was leaning toward a fold here anyway, but it always kind of tilts me a little bit when I get sat out when I don't mean to be. But anyway, my thought was that he can very easily call the turn with a flush draw because the player in front of him, who's behind me, I guess he was middle position, is already in there, so he's getting a much better price. I had only bet maybe 60% pot, and I'm calling here, getting like, what is it, 6-ish to 1. Just because I have pretty big implied odds for flushes against, first of all, 5-way, but against some very bad players. I haven't been playing too much 25 NL yet because I'm not rolled, but so far my impressions are that it's significantly worse than 25 NL at Merge, which is the other place where I've played 25 NL. It checks around, but I don't necessarily think stabbing makes a lot of sense here. I think we would get called by some pocket pairs. I think people might check a jack on the flop, especially some of the, like this short stack and this short stack and this. Well, there's a lot of short stackers on this table actually. I was going to say, if I make any pair by the river, though, I'm probably betting if it checks around. But that's, wow. We have to call this, I think. Um, he can shove anything from a flush draw to the nuts, so, and we catch early, which is always nice. With an open ender there, like, I just think we're getting like 1.7 to 1 or something like that. I just think we can pretty comfortably call there. I'd 3-bet that sometimes, but usually not against under the gun raisers. The reason why I paused there to consider it was because we're not actually 6-handed right now, but okay. I think with this guy's money in and the min 3-bet, I'd rather just 4-bet here and plan to get it in. It's a little bit gross, obviously, since, I mean, the sizing just looks really strong, but wow, that's not really what I was expecting. But I've definitely seen the same line with like 10s, jacks, and queens, where like they know they want to put more money in, but they don't want to stack off, so they're not sizing it normally. I'm basically planning to half pot and then shove the turn here on basically any, I mean, let's be serious, any turn card. And I'm calling a shove here too, just because I mean, who knows what he's 3-betting, to be honest. Like, at unknown tables, when you see someone take a weird line and you're like, well, you don't really have a hand, you can't really have a hand that makes sense in this spot, they might just have a hand that you wouldn't have put in pre-flop. That's pretty common. But I think he's probably got a decision with like jacks or queens there. And we take it down, which is completely fine, even though I think we were ahead. Well, I know we were ahead because he's not folding aces there and he's not folding kings there. That's one of those boards where I could almost check to try to get him to do something funky with pocket queens or jacks there, but I think taking just a bet line, because taking a bet line by default is going to be better, just because the most common mistake for players at these limits especially, but the most common player mistake is going to be calling too wide, calling too much. So when people are making calling mistakes, you really just want to bet your value hands. Now granted, I am going to be probably taking some more bluffs than I normally do, because I'm playing at 10-0 rather than 5-0 and 25-0 as well. This is a little bit gross. He's short stacked, but I think I'm going to be able to, you know, I'm not just set mining here. I'm going to be able to play this profitably. It's an interesting flop. I kind of want to lead and fold to a raise from him, just because, well, actually I can't. You can fold to a raise. He might try to get it all in with ace king is the only thing. I think I can call like a shove, but if he raises small, I probably have to fold, which is kind of weird logic sometimes. If this guy raises, I'm probably snap folding because it looks like a set a lot of the time. And I'm totally fine with that result. I mean, obviously it's a perfect board for a hand, so it's perhaps not ideal, quote unquote, but definitely okay just taking down the pot there before bad cards come out for us. Standard 3-bet with 8, or standard ISO with aces, I should say. We're just a hair deep, but not deep enough for me to really change how I'm going to play this, which is a default bet, 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 unless, you know, really bad cards come out. We don't have the ace of hearts, which is too bad, but I'm going to bet fairly large here because there's straight draws, flush draws. This isn't a fantastic card, but I don't think he's calling with just bare king queen here. You know, you can go with like king queen of hearts and get there, but it's definitely still a bet for value. Jack 10 and queen 10 are feeling a little bit more comfortable perhaps now they have a pair. I think I can still bet here. If he were to do that, which is what I was about to say, he pots it, which is like the stupidest sizing ever. It's hard to see him have anything except for trips or a full house here. I mean, Nothing gets here. I think he's just afraid we won't bet. He's not really gonna take a bluff line like this ever, I don't think, and we're definitely not ahead of any of his value hands. Like, there's no way these players are playing queen jack this way, king jack this way, so we don't really have to worry about him like trying to get value and being wrong, but then letting him take the pot down. So it's a little bit nasty because, you know, maybe he had the 9 the whole time, or yeah, obviously, I mean, he almost certainly has a 9. So maybe he played it quote unquote optimally against our hand. Probably not optimally against our range, frankly. That's interesting. Okay. I do like getting aces on my bigger table. That is always nice. But we get like a snap call from the half stacker. Let's see if we bet 2 and then there's 6. There's like 5 something in the pot. Bet 5. Yeah, we can get all the money in here just by betting pretty close to the pot on the flop and turn. So that's what I'm trying to do if he's got like a pair like an ace 10 or king 10. Good card for us. He doesn't really have much 5-6 in his range, and if he calls the flop with it, good for him, I guess. My plan is to bet 4 and then 8 on the river if he calls the turn, which, yeah, it's hard to see what he can have there that's that comfortable continuing when I bet so big twice, but I don't really see how sizing it smaller is going to be better. We get this weird min 3-bet. We're out of position with a pretty weak hand. Getting like 4.5 to 1, which is always makes things a little bit more complicated. I am going to call, I think. I'm going to have to check fold a ton, though. Obviously standard open with 10s there. That's a pretty nice board. I think I'm probably going to check jam this. Yeah, I'm going to check jam here. I'm just going to check behind. We block like tons of draw stuff, and I don't think we get too much. We get there even if we're behind. We have the flush draw, and I think that is very interesting that he checks there. I don't think he has too many aces. I think he can have queens and jacks a ton here. So I'm actually going to bet the top and try to get him to spaz a little bit. I'm going to bet a little big here. Oh, wow, we're just getting 3-bet all over the place. If he were to jam here, I think it's actually probably a fold. And if he were to raise tiny, I'd have to reevaluate based on the sizing. Getting 2 to 1, but only 7 to 1 on his whole stack here, that means we're only getting 8 to 1. I mean, I can play this hand not just for set value, but I don't think it's going to be that profitable as anything. I don't know why my time bank's not working, but that's okay. I was going to fold anyway. I don't think he's deep enough for us to be able to really utilize our post-flop edge. Oh no, that's a big problem. Obviously, I meant to bet my straight there when he checks on the river. The flush draw comes in, but you can't really get scared of stuff like that when someone checks a river. People are way more likely to try to check raise a turn for value than they are to try to check raise a river, just because checking the turn, there's not as much danger of like your opponent checking behind. Whereas on the river, if he checks behind, obviously, you know, you've missed your chance or whatever. Oops. Sorry, just got a little distracted by a text here. Um, wow, I might actually ISO this here. Um, I'd sometimes just check because, um, I mean, we have a hand that's going to play pretty well multi-way, but I kind of like ISOing. I just think make it this sizing. Nobody's going to love calling. Might get one or two callers, two snap calls. Not that excited about this board, frankly. I think it's a check just because, I mean, I don't really want to semi-bluff with my queen here. If a 10 comes in, we're not even that excited about it. I think I'm pretty much ahead when they both check behind, though. Probably have to bet this. Gonna keep it on the smaller side, though, half pot. Technically a little over half pot just because of the rake. Do get a call. It's hard for me to see him having a deuce here pretty much ever. Can I get thin value? I'm a little worried he has something like an ace-5 type hand. So I think I just want to check. I actually think weak ace-x is a big part of his range, and I'll check it behind a ton. Wow, and he just comes out and bombs it. There's not really any huge draws that bricked out. I mean, I think just because of his sizing, we kind of have to fold. Like, this is a 10 and L table. This is a 60 big blind bet. So this is pretty enormous. And, you know, people do sometimes spaz out these enormous bets with, like, yeah, I think I'm folding, but I just flop checks around. Brother, show the bluff. Yeah, I just think people take these huge bluff sizing lines sometimes where they just bet enormous, and you're like, why would you ever bet that for value? But the thing is, they can take these weird sizes for value bets, and it's just, you know, I'd rather make the losing decision and be not giving him a bunch of extra money than, I should have ISO'd that here, that was terrible, rather than the losing decision being losing an even bigger pot by calling, basically. Now, it's not quite as simple as that because, you know, he has a range, but it's pretty tough to pin down his range there. You know, the flop checks around. I bet the turn and he called. You know, with how passively he played that hand, I mean, he limped called pre-flop. We have to assume he's a pretty passive player. I don't think he's going to take like a huge scary bluff line there on a river that doesn't really do much. Yeah, I think I like a fold there, and I think checking was probably correct too, just because of how passively he played it. I think he can still have aces there for sure. But it'd be interesting to actually see what he had, which technically I could do tomorrow, but I didn't mark down the hand number. So the weird thing about Bovada is you can actually get hand histories, but only a day after they played. This guy doesn't have cards, so I have the button. So I'm going to raise. I think with a flush draw, this is okay to bet. It's a little weird when you steal and you pick up a weird like pair on a paired board like this with no kicker, basically, because unless it comes like 2-3 here, we're not going to have a kicker. You get a reluctant call, or so it seems. Catch this card, which doesn't really change anything. I think he's calling the flop with ace high or king high a ton. So I kind of like betting again just because I don't like giving free cards. It's possible he plays like a 10 like this, but he snap calls. I think he's got a pair at this point, which basically means we're guaranteed. Oh, no, he rivered us. Kind of surprised he snap calls the turn. Like, I would think he would think about it longer, especially after he thinks about it for a little bit on the flop. When we get let into for 3/4 pot here, I'm just folding. Without really too much hope for him improving except the top pair. Might have to ditch this table. I'd actually love to jump to this seat, but it takes 5 minutes to be able to do that. Yeah, so typically I was folding this under the gun. I think suited it's probably okay to open ace-9, ace-8. I'm still kind of skeptical of opening like any suited ace under the gun. Like, yes, they're going to play pretty well in multi-way pots, but I don't know, I just feel like we're going to end up behind to some weird hand. With this board, I actually pretty much have to bet. I'm going to bet on the bigger side too. We're going to take it down actually a ton when nobody has a decent heart in their hand or an ace. This is a pretty innocuous card for us. I'd rather it be bigger actually, just so that it's kind of a little bit less likely that he somehow binks 2 pair along the way, but I have to bet again just because big hearts still really want to call. He min raises, which is really disgusting. I mean, like, absolutely nasty. The board hasn't changed. Ace-6 gets there is pretty much the only thing that's changed. 6-5, I guess. It's just nasty because we're going to have to get it all in if we want to continue this hand. It's hard to see what he raises here that's not. But I think getting this price, I meant to. What? Shit, I meant to call. And here I ISO, didn't I? No, I meant to ISO, but I didn't. I'm actually going to stab at this. Just because it's pretty hard for anyone to have anything. Yeah, let's just sit me out of all my tables. That's cool. Yeah, so that was kind of an interesting spot. I mean, I think my bet on the turn is pretty mandatory, but I think it's fine to bet fold. It's just when he sizes like that, it's just so nasty. And again, this is like kind of, it's like not even really, it's not a value ISO obviously, but it's like an ISO in that I expect to be able to outplay you from in position post flop. I think I actually like flatting here. Getting 2-1 right now, and I expect to see a fair number of calls, especially from the limper. Catch top pair. I think I like leading out. I could take like a check call line, but I'm a little surprised by this call. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of flush draws, I think, so definitely planning on betting blank turns. Probably even, that's a little bit nasty. He opened pre-flop, which I think means he's going to have like ace king a ton. Gross. I either have to get it all in with him or just fold. And I think I'd rather fold. Against this sizing, I'm 3-betting, by the way. It's really gross. Kind of have to c-bet it, which is a little bit nasty. Yeah, okay. Good fold us. Not sure what you're doing. Size a little bit big, just to discourage calls from like, I don't know, weird hands. Seems like another mandatory bet spot. Not like excited about it. This is a little bit weird. Obviously we can't call with 9 high, but I mean, he limp shoves like 20 big blinds. It's pretty bad. Pretty crazy that they both limped pre-flop. These relative, basically monsters with their stack sizes anyway. But that's fine. Just wish I hadn't ISO'd that wide that in one hand. Standard open, obviously. If this guy shoves, I'm probably calling, just because he can easily be tilting here. Shove any ace, maybe, at worst. And probably some worse kings, frankly. Monotone board, I'm definitely c-betting. This board is, I think, okay to c-bet into 2 people. I'd rather have 2 overs, but it's rainbow. There's not really any straight draws to speak of. Unless someone has a jack in their hand, they shouldn't be too excited about their hand. But obviously they both call after I've said that. And I'm just checking behind because I don't think much that calls on the flop is that excited about folding the turn. And obviously we bank, which is pretty nice. The question is, can I get away with some awkward sizing here? I think two pair definitely can't fold here, but I think 1 pair is definitely having trouble. I'm gonna 3-bet this, be a little more aggressive with this hand than I might be at like 5-0 or 10-0. Can start opening up my 3-betting range a little bit. At 25, people are folding so much more. I have position too. He is under the gun, but I mean, people are opening wider at 25-0 anyway. It kind of looks like he's contemplating a 4-bet here, but he could also be multi-tabling for all I know. I think he's calling like ace king, probably ace queen, maybe ace jack. He's probably going to call with like, I don't know, sevens through tens or jacks rather than trying to get it in. Kind of have to go for c-bet here when I 3-bet this pre-flop. Snap folding to a raise. I'd have to reevaluate on the turn. I don't think I have too many good barreling options if, yeah. This kind of looks like he's taking an unconventional line with like kings. Maybe he can have like ace queen here, but it's hard to see what he can check raise as a bluff here like ever, and obviously I don't even have a bluff catcher here. So that's not going that well. Always nice to pick up a real hand right after you get caught. And we get 3-bet, and this guy cold calls. I think this is just a fold. Don't flop me the nuts is like what I'm praying. Wow. What? The thing is that I've weirdly seen people take this line as a bluff before, but he's so short stacked, like there's nothing I can do here. I'm just like, my hands are completely tied, it feels like. Let's try this again. This is a perfect barrel card. I don't think he's calling with too many ace highs. I think he mostly has, mostly gonna have like pocket pairs. Wow, okay, that's not good. I just, unless he's got ace queen, I don't think he can like snap call this river at all. Yeah, I just like, I'm so shocked when he calls the turn so quickly. But I mean, really, his range there seems like it's all pocket pairs and like non-nutted queens, so like queen jack or worse queen x. And I guess you can definitely call with the queen again on the turn. But then on the river, like, you know, it's just so easy for me to bet an ace on the flop and then keep betting in on the turn and river. Gonna go for a value bet here. If he were to raise me again, I'd probably have to start thinking about if I can get this in profitably. You know, that he only raised one hand against me, but it's uncommon enough to get a really big hand where you'd be raising on that kind of board that, you know, like I'd be putting him on a lot of flush draws there, and when we get that draw favorable board with like the 6-5 of diamonds right there along with the king, I think that he can play draws pretty aggressively there, and so I'd definitely be looking to probably just get it in, which is kind of nasty because you know, I don't know if he raises something like king queen there or ace. Actually, he probably shouldn't really have ace king there, but I just really don't know enough about how he's playing HUDless and readless. But that's just part of the fun of playing at Bovada. Interesting hand. I bet this guy's got an ace when he's like thinking about showing it. Let's take a look. Just a queen. I hate flatting tens here just because I don't want to go super multi-way, but I also don't think 3-betting is going to be that exciting either. Isolating this. I'd love to just get the small blind heads up, but that's fine too. This is a guy that we just triple barreled. So I'm expecting to get a fair amount of calls on this flop, but I can bet a lot of turn cards. Oh, no, he folds anyway. He checks, so I think he never has a king. He probably doesn't have too much complete air either, because this is like a great board to c-bet as a bluff. I kind of just want to take the pot down. He's the one I really didn't want him to call, because if he calls, I think he's on like jacks and queens, and I can barrel him off. Wow, so this was like literally the worst possible outcome, which is that this card, which is helping a decent part of his range, comes. You really have jacks? How do you have jacks here? All right, I really hope this guy ends up going with it so that we can see. But I have to fold clearly here, I think. I don't think he ever finds a fold here with whatever. What? How can he call the flop and then fold to that? That's shocking to me. I want to see that hand tomorrow. I'm gonna bet this since it's kind of like a default when I have a pair. I'm gonna bet. I mean, top pair rather, not just any pair. Draw heavy enough. I don't think I can really keep betting though. See, this is just gross. He's so short stacked. I just have to fold. And we're ahead. I did that thing where I have no idea what time I started. Shoot. I think yeah, I'll ISO this. If I can get heads up, I'm going to be able to outplay him a lot in position. He did this just a hand ago. I think he can doing it with a pretty weird wide range. And since he's only got like 20 some big blinds, I'm just going to put it all in. I think that's probably fine. He's going to snap call sevens? No. So, yeah, we're like weirdly doing totally fine. I'm gonna 3-bet this because when I call, it's gonna go like call so often. I don't mind taking the pot. I have a very playable hand. He's gonna flat a lot in position probably. Standard continuation bet here. Snap calls. He's got pocket pairs a lot probably. Maybe some ace high. That I'm going to be trying to get him off of. This is a really awkward. Wow, really? This looks like. I mean, he basically never has nothing here, so I have to fold because you can't get people to fold here by 3-betting. I kind of like just shutting all in here, to be honest. Oh, come on. Boo. And this is my shove. Obviously, I pick up a ton of outs here. And it's really hard for him to call with pretty much anything. Oops. Ooh, action. Really? with a half playable hand, blind versus blind, and he completes, I'm just raising. He snap calls, which is a little bit weird. I think this is a value bet. Not really sure. It might be like a semi-value, semi-bluff. I don't even know, to be honest. His snap calling is kind of weirding me out. I just don't ever see him having that much here. Basically, I don't know why. It's just like part of when he completes, like, I don't know, weak aces maybe. To complete and then call a weak ace. It's hard to know. Man, not too much premium going on here. Seems an okay spot to 3-bet. Actually, could probably make it a little bigger out of position. Make it like $1. But so we're gonna get called too often. This is a pretty nice board though. Definitely gonna be double barreling a fair number of turn cards. And here, a standard value bet. Really. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think I can go for a barrel here. We're just threatening his whole stack so effectively. Wow, that's gross. It's hard to see what sixes he can have. I guess he can have some weird like 9-8 here, or like 10-9, but I feel like he has to fold a ton. Nope, he's got a 9. Really? Really? Thanks for that, river. Fantastic. Well, I was right. He had a pocket pair. Probably should have been able to put him on just sixes. Sixes are a full house, basically. Because I'm probably not calling down with forwards on the flop and turn, but oh well. Good play, me. Good play. Alright, well, now that I'm probably going to be a little bit tilty, I'll probably just play for a few minutes more, see how I feel, and then if I'm not feeling fantastic, I'll just quit. That's a really shitty river, though. I mean, like, he can't call on pretty much any other river, but the thing that makes it bad is I still bet on that river. Should have just given up. Pretty much every other card in the deck is a good like triple barrel card, I think. Except for maybe like another 9. But like ace, king, queen, those are all good barrel cards against his range, I think. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. It's like insult to injury right there. It's like the same type of river card. I'm just gonna fold this. Can I play it profitably? Maybe. I'd rather it be a definite yes. Position helps, but it's a pretty weak hand at the end of the day. I'd almost rather 3-bet it than anything else. Come on, people. I know 30-cent decisions are like all the rage these days, but let's hurry it up. funny, I've lost my biggest pots, like bluffing. I almost never take triple barrel lines. It kind of shows because that was a pretty awful spot to three barrel. Most of the pots I've been losing today seems like people are just running into hands and playing back at me, like raising flops, raising turns. So, you know, just kind of been getting away from most of those, I guess. Haven't really been coolered since earlier today. Got in kings against aces once, but it was like, I mean, obviously kings versus aces is almost always a ridiculously standard spot, so not too much for concern there. This is the guy who I just 3-bet and then he called with sixes. You know, trying again might be a little silly. I'm not really sure, but I think that since he caught me bluffing, I'm a little bit less likely to be doing it as a bluff this time, which is an even better reason to do it as a bluff, I guess. I'm not sure how much that logic really applies to like 10 and L on an anonymous site, but you know, if he's just one or two tabling, then it's pretty easy for him to probably remember that that was me that just did that a second ago. I don't think there's much value in raising this flop, so I'll just call. Hope we get favorable cards. I think I have to call one here. He just, wow, that sizing looks ridiculously strong. If he bets again, I'm probably folding. I mean, I can't fold top pair here, I don't think, because he can definitely barrel weird stuff. Oh, that's gross. See, the problem with a card like this is that he can either triple barrel it or have hit it, and that sizing looks so nutted. But he has so many air combos too. Wow. His blind looks very bluffy, but he might have done that on purpose, but I think I have to call. Wow. That's all? That's all you have? That's pretty gross. How does he get that in the cutoff? How do you ever pick up a hand in the cutoff when I have a hand? No, I can't 3-bet. My stack is too small. Well, fellas, that's how you try to bluff catch and fail miserably. Do as I say, not as I do, or something like that. Alright, yeah, I think I'm probably just gonna not keep playing after that. Just play to my big blinds. Hopefully win a hand for a change. Wow, people are raising a lot today. And again, that guy had kings, so I mean, can't really fault him raising pre-flop. What? What? He pots it, which is like really gross. I feel like I'm gonna run into ace king here a ton when he pots it, if he keeps making it huge. Oh, give me a break. Am I really gonna have to fold ace or king queen here? What? This is so disgusting. If he's like trying to induce or something. maybe he's just like min betting to see if I can misclick fold. But no, I almost shoved there because I want him to be able to misclick call with something like nines. I'm shocked he pots it twice with nines there. Like, what is he even doing? It's like the definition of how not to play a showdown value hand. Or if you're going to, then at least like put in the third barrel, because I'm very seriously considering folding king queen there. Alright, so we've had mixed results on the 10NL tables, probably down. Up a little under half a buy-in on the 25NL table, so you know it probably evens out, probably approximately break even on the session. Not that results matter. We are completely non-results oriented here. But if they did matter, we'd be approximately break even, and that's what we would say. Thanks for watching, guys. This has been Scourge. 10NL and 25NL video. In-game commentary. Make sure to let me know if you guys see anything really bad, but also anything that you'd like to see different about the videos. I'm pretty new to this, trying to make it interesting, both poker-wise and entertainment-wise. Really just want to have the best balance for the people watching, and so definitely let me know on the Cards Chat forums, and I always love hearing both positive feedback and constructive criticism, so don't be afraid to give me some you played that hand like shit kind of comments. Alright, there we go. So I'll be sat on every table now. So this is Scourge signing off. Thanks for watching.